Man, it's busy.
I can't wait to see who wants to nickel and dime their students, Mets.
Is it time to raise rates? Only if you want to make more money. We're not going to get any viewers now.
All about, we're all about the money here at Maya. That's it. Not about the experience.
Michael Perry's glasses.
They're a little crooked on your head. Or either that or your head's crooked. One ear must be crooked. Oh, you got one ear higher than the other, maybe.
Oh, here we go.
Let's see who gets on, Mets.
Well, Tass.
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you had a rate increase?
Well, in February.
And how about before that?
I didn't. I had a rate decrease. But there's reasons.
Yeah. When is it time to lower rates?
That's a good question.
And how do you do that?
And how would you do that? Yeah. Is that even fair?
You have to lower everyone's rate. You can't lower your rates and have people that have been with you paying a higher rate than new people coming in.
That's right. And then they're going to say, well, nobody would know that. Hey, by the way, have you ever gotten a letter from like your cable provider, and it's like, hey, join our cable now for $79 a month, and you're paying $179?
Yeah. And you know what I do?
And you call them, and then you have to ask to connect to retention, and then you get the rate adjusted.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Or you
and then you're irritated because you're frustrated and irritated because how is this newbie getting this? But I've been with you for 3 years and I'm paying this inflated rate, right?
Right. So thanks for joining, everybody. Why don't you just put a comment, say hello. We like to, or have they been putting comments? Because I don't.
No, I thought you're being playful because I don't see anybody that's on right now.
No, I don't see any comments, but there's people on. We got 20.
Oh, perfect.
20, but no comments unless it's just delayed. But what we're talking about is, when is it time to raise rates? There you go, Mr. Sheffield. Welcome. But this is a good question, everybody. Have you ever, and I'd like to ask this question to we're up to 687 right now.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah. So out of that, Mr. Cius, hey, sir, it's great to see you.
What's going on?
I'll see you on. But let me ask you, has anybody ever decreased rates? Before we talk about is it time to raise rates, has anybody on here ever lowered rates? I'm just curious. So put in the chat box if you've ever lowered rates before. Yeah, Tass, you were one of the 4. I think that was because when I worked with you, I'm the one who got you to lower your rates.
You did. Yeah.
Who got you to charge so high?
I don't remember the guy's name.
Good. It was a guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was in his 40s, and he's got no, I'm just teasing. No, nobody made me do it. I made the decision to do it, right?
So, okay, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Weaver.
And by the way, let's preface this in a non-COVID period. So I want to make sure that we're clear about that, right? So some of you lowered your rates because of COVID, and the service you were offering was different because you were now teaching on Zoom as opposed to in person. So you felt, well, hey, if we lower our rates because the service is different, and then we'll raise our rates back up when they get the service that they're used to. But during non-COVID, how many of you ever lowered your rates? Just to kind of clear up that question.
Right. I'd be interested. So Mr. Weaver and Mr. Haynes says, yes, they have lowered rates. Now, Mr. Weaver, Mr. Haynes, did you lower rates other than outside of a COVID year, like prior to COVID? Did you have to lower rates?
The 2 responses, well, then no and no. So not outside of COVID.
Okay. So not outside of COVID. All right. Well, this is interesting, right? Because people want to know, when do you raise rates? How do you raise rates? Why do you raise rates, right? What do you raise your rates to, right? However, before we get into that, I will tell you, over the last 18 years, 20 years of consulting schools, there have been about 5 school owners that came on board with consulting with me personally, about 5, where I actually said, we are going to lower your rates. And not only are we going to lower your rates, but we're going to make you a lot more money by lowering your rates. As a matter of fact, Tass, I believe you're working with a brand new client. Aren't you working with a brand new client that just signed on that we're going to lower rates?
I'm always working with new clients that were
anyone that we're going to lower rates?
Yes, there is one particular person, correct.
So by the way, this particular person, I spoke to them first, right? And I said, when they were asking, you know, what they're looking for, they're ready to scale, they want to try to grow the business, whatever it was. And by the way, the question's fair. Well, why are you different than anyone else? How are you going to do this, right? I said, well, we're completely transparent. And I said, let me just tell you how much of a non-sales process this is. I said, sir, if you decide you want to join our program, by the information you gave me, the first thing I'm going to do is lower the rates for every one of your students. We're going to lower those rates. But within 90 days, you'll be making more revenue than you did with that. So I just want you to know, if you come on board with us, we're lowering your rates by like $30 a month. So basically, if you have 200 students, do the math, 200 times 30 is a lot of money, right? And we're going to lower that.
It's not for everybody, by the way. There are people, just to be clear.
Yeah. Don't say, wow, if I lower my rates, I'll make more. But there's a process to that and how you do that and why you do that. But we're talking about raising rates and is it time to raise rates? And then what do we have here?
I just want to get, and you may not remember this, but I was charging, this is 11 years ago, everybody. So understand, put this in context, right? I was charging $169 a month 11 years ago, maybe closer to 12 now. And we did, at the time, right, we did $240,000 in gross revenue for that particular, that was 11 years ago, right? A long time ago, for that particular year. We lowered rates by $30 to $139 for everybody, right? And we did $360,000 the following year. And then, I mean, I can go out 440 and then 552 and 660. I mean, I can go through the numbers, but each year there was a big increase. And we started off by lowering rates by $30 a person and did $120,000 in additional revenue the following year after we lowered our rates, which is crazy.
By $30. And how many students did you have at that time when we lowered the rates by $30?
Like 6, I think. It was about 6 or 7. I can't remember exactly.
Right. So you were losing $180 a month right out of the gate.
We crushed it. No, it was, I think, about 160, 170 students at the time.
Well, Tass, because we're martial artists, you know, I can't do that math. So if you take 160,
well, 160 is $4,800 a month. I got the math.
So $4,800 a month right out of the gate. We were going to lower rates, but that was lowering rates, and that's not what this is about. And by the way, you pre-framed it by this was 11 years ago. But let's talk about raising rates and how do you raise rates? Why do you raise rates? When do you raise rates? What do you raise those rates to? And I think this will help a lot of you, right? But number one, Tass, why don't we talk about the reasons not to raise rates? Okay.
Sure. When Mr. Cartan, when Mr. Metzger tells me to.
There you go. When to raise rates, show's over. Mr. Cartan, what's the answer? He just ruined the end.
That's good. That's good.
Mr. Cartan, we had a good talk just the other day. But here's the thing. You do not, let me just say this. You do not raise your rates out of context because some other person in town raised their rates. Because, for example, Tass, you have martial arts schools in town. At some point, 11, 12, 13 years ago, you jumped your rates to 169. Well, if I was consulting somebody that was next to you and said, we're going to raise our rates because the guy down the street raised his rates to 169. Well, when I started working with you, we lowered them $30. That is not the reason. Right. So don't, and by the way, the reason you should not raise rates, you shouldn't do it because the guy in town's charging $80 a month either. You shouldn't lower your rates because the guy down the street has lower rates. Why else should you not just raise rates, Tass?
Well, it's like what a lot of people think by opening a second location. You don't raise your rates because you want to make more money, right? I mean, And by the way, this is in context. I want you guys to understand. Can you make more money? Of course, if it's done correctly, but that's not the driving reason as to why you would raise your rates. So that's another reason. Don't do it just because you want to make more money.
That's correct. And by the way, don't raise your rates, by the way, just because inflation.
That was my next on my list.
Yeah. Don't say, well, everything's going up, I'm raising my rates. That's not the reason to raise rates either, right? So let's talk about.
Do any of you guys have that in your agreements? I'm just curious. Like, do you guys have an escalator for inflation? Like, and I'm guessing if you did, you're probably a month-to-month school, which is fine. But do you have it where it's going to go up 3% or 5% a year? Is that built into your agreement? I'm just curious if anybody has that.
Well, some people answered the questions on the thing, and I believe one of the answers was, our rates go up $10 every year. I'm thinking, man, I hope you haven't been in business for 20 years yet, because you are getting expensive, is what I'm thinking, right? But that's an interesting question. If anybody has an automatic rate increase every year, and you're right, Tass, if you're a month-to-month school, you could do that. If you lock somebody in on an agreement, you can't just raise their rates, right? So let's talk about this for a minute as we're getting some answers. You can always raise rates easy. Right. It's very difficult to lower rates. And it goes back to the example of, if you come out of the gate with some high rate and you find that you've outpriced yourself in your community or with the value you're providing or whatever it is, but you signed up 50, 60 people on these rates, but you can't really get the majority, your conversion percentage is down. You can't just say, you know what, we're just going to start charging less, unless you decrease the rate of every single student that currently is in your school on that rate, okay? But Tass, there's ways to not decrease those rates, and we'll get into that. Well, we're not going to get into that, but
I remember this story. I mean, I remember I don't know if this would have been my, let me think, second location. I mean, I've been through I was through like 5 or 6 before I figured it out, right? But my second failing location, years and years and years ago, and I remember it was around it was around this time, and I had this genius idea. We were I think we were probably charging, I mean, this is way longer than 11 years ago. We were probably charging about $119 to $129 a month, something like that. And I'm like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go out in the community and we're going to give away gift certificates for 3 months for free. And we are going to load our school up with people. And I'm going to drop my rates to $89 because I want to get everyone to enroll. And if we do that just by quantity and by numbers, we're going to crush it. I think we signed up. Let me rephrase. I think we had about 50 people, 60 people take advantage of the 3 months for free. And then when it came time for them to pay, even at $89, there was price objections, and that plan failed miserably. So, I've gone the direction of lowering the price and trying to do that as well, right? Now, the wrong way. There's a right way to do it. But I remember that. I specifically remember, I was so excited, we are going to crush it and we're going to get all these people in, and it just didn't happen.
So let me walk you through this. This is going to be valuable for you guys that want to stay on and hear this. I think this is a concept that you can understand. We're not going to be breaking it down like we did yesterday on foundations, but it has to do with rate raising and when to and when not to. First of all, let me just say this. If you are living in the United States, I won't speak for some of our overseas people that are on here right now, but if you're living in the United States, I don't care where you're at in the United States, you shouldn't be below $100 a month for martial arts lessons. Right? You shouldn't be below $100.
Would you say that to someone who's in a club or a rec center as well, Metz?
It depends on how many days and what you can offer. If you're only offering 2 days a week and 1 class time, no, I would be lower than $100, right? I'm really talking about the brick and mortar schools. If you're in a brick and mortar school, you shouldn't be under 100 regardless. Now, how much higher should you be? Well, there's people in the industry, right? There's consultants in the industry that say, you should be at $199 a month. You're worth it. You went to more schooling than a doctor and this, that, and the other. The difference is I go to a doctor because I have to, right? I do martial arts because I want to. I want something extracurricular activity. So you got to think about your area that you're in. And again, not your competitors, but the area that you're in. And by the way, if I was working with anybody and you were going to open a school, the first thing we would talk about is what area we should be opening in. I would prefer not to open up in an area where the average household income is $25,000, right, a year, right? So number one, you got to be in the right area. But even with that, by the way, $100 a month. Now let's pause for a minute. Well, when you say, well, let me ask you, are there people that cannot afford your martial arts lessons in your community? Put yes or no in the comments. Are there people in your community that tell you once they come in and try out a class, we can't afford it?
Well,
yes. Okay. So there's 3 people that have had that, which is wonderful. Okay. My point is I asked the question. Go ahead, Tass.
well, the original question was, are there people in your area that can't afford it, right? And then the question shaped into, are there people in your area that have come into your classes and told you that they can't afford it, right?
That's the question. People that have come in, tried a class out, they enjoyed it. You sit down, you show them pricing, and they're like, "Wow, this is
like,
much." They're
like, yeah, I just don't know if I can afford this or not.
Right. So first of all, for all of you, here's the first thing I want you to understand. Yes, they can. They can afford it. What they cannot afford, possibly, is to add martial arts to their budget with all the other things that they do in their life, right? I need to get a Starbucks twice a day, right? Or I want a Starbucks twice a day, and I've been doing that for a year. Now I come in, I can't afford to pay $100, $150, $200, whatever it is, right? That is about value. They did not see enough value to afford you and not afford something else outside of you, right? So when do you raise rates? You raise rates for a reason, when you can provide more value, right? Not because of your competitor, not just because of inflation. Hey, all the other prices are going up. I'm just going to raise my prices. One of the things is I will tell you that we just raised rates 2 months ago, roughly, by $10 a month, right? We have 4 options. We have on our pricing plan, on our bottom pricing option, we raised $10 a month. Now, why did we raise $10 a month? Because today, as opposed to even a year ago, we've been in business 30 years this year, 30 years, 1991, right? This year, as opposed to any other year prior, we have put more time, more energy, more trainings. We pay an entire director team of 4 people that their sole job is to make our instructors and our staff more professional, better service, better at teaching, all around. Got to raise my rates $10, regardless if there's a stock market crash, an economic crash. My rates are going up $10. Back in 2010 and 11, when everything was going down, not everybody, you guys know what I mean, not everybody, but do you know how many people, because I was consulting a lot of schools then, were lowering rates back then when the housing market was crashing? We raised rates. We raised rates then. And it's because of value and service. So the first thing that I want everybody to understand is, if you want to raise rates, fantastic. Tell me why you're raising them. And it can't be because I want to make more money. Don't tell me you're raising my rates because a gallon of milk or gas is more money. Because as a customer, don't do that. Tell me why rates have gone up, number one. Number two, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Tess. Just remember, your existing students should not ever be affected by your rate increase today, right? There's a time, but we'll always give them the option to stay put and grandfather them in. New students coming in, for the most part, don't know what your rates are anyway. And when you're going to raise rates, I always like to do it in a $10 increment, because somebody that was going to enroll with you at $100 will not enroll at 110. Okay. And it's also a mindset for you or your program director that when they're going to sell this, they got to know and believe that this is not that big of a deal. $2.50 a week, right? That we're raising rates. However, when you go through an 18-month cycle, roughly, and you have an extra 100, 150 students that are now in on this, well, that's an extra $1,000 to $1,500 a month that's coming in. But for what? Because we're investing more in our business and in our instructors or in ourselves. We're going to seminars. We're doing consulting. If you are doing things to better your product or service and you weren't before, that could be a justification where you're raising your rates. And by the way, be transparent with your customers and say, hey, Mrs. Johnson, listen, I know you were referred by Sally and you made hear that Sally's at a different rate. We did have a rate increase 2 months ago, right? And I want to let you know why. It's okay. It's okay to tell them why, because we strive to be the best that we possibly can be. And we're investing a lot more into our instruction, our staff, our company, our service. And that's it. If they walk out because it's $10 more, they weren't enrolling anyway. Go ahead, Tass.
It reminds me of a story when I decided to raise this literally happened to me. Again, this is 15, 20 years ago. And somebody came in and I went through the introductory lesson and I just literally raised my prices, right? Whatever it was, from 109 to 119, call it. And the parents like, well, so-and-so just referred us here and they're paying 109 a month. I said, yes, ma'am, we just raised our rates. I said, and we're going to raise them again. So if you want to get in, now's the time to do it. That's not the right answer to give to your people, by the way. But you guys are in charge of what you want to do with your rates. Now, if you want to raise your rates with no reason for new people, what Metzger is telling you, if you're charging $79 a month and you're in a commercial location, there should still be value and reason there. But you can easily go to 100 and not have to explain anything for any new person that's coming in, right? So
that's strictly for your knowledge and your training and your,
right.
I mean, it's definitely at that rate, no matter where you're at.
Every time Mr. Stewart's this pops up and the little sleigh pops up there, it reminds me of a picture years ago of a Christmas ornament. But that's for another day. So here's the other thing. I saw Mr. Cartan put on here, right? Price on demand of option A and option D. Too many paid in fulls means I need to raise my prices. Potentially, right? But here's the thing, and nobody wants to hear it because it's not sexy and because most people don't do it, and so they don't want to hear it. And then you guys are going to tune out because you're like, he's going to talk about stats again. But we can't drive our business. We can't assess our business if we don't have a dashboard and statistics about our business. And so in Mr. Cartan's example, if someone pays option A, and just for those of you that may not know, an option A is a paid in full price, and there's a particular discount that they get by simply prepaying for the program, and that's what we do. Well, if the majority of your people are paying in full, is it time to raise your rates? Maybe not. And why do I say maybe not? Because if you have 10 people that come in for an enrollment, are you telling me to keep it down?
No, you're a little loud.
No. If you have 10 people that come in for intros and you enroll 3 people and all 3 people pay in full, that's not a reason to raise your rate or to raise your rates, because you're missing the 7 other people. So I would want to know, well, what are your traffic stats? I mean, how many intros do you teach? How many people are coming in? How many people are enrolling? If 80 or 90% of your people are enrolling in your program, as an example, and they're paying in full, well, now we have a case and argument for, hey, it may be time to raise our rates. It may be time to lower our paid in full discount. There's certain things that we can do, but this is why each school is on an individual basis, but we're talking generalities here on concepts. So what I don't want anyone to do is go back and be like, well, this is what they said, because everybody is a little bit different as to where you're at, but there are some overarching concepts to remember. So, keeping good traffic stats of your introductory lessons and how many conversions you have is also going to help you understand that. And even if you had 10 people come in and 8 or 9 enroll and 7 or 8 of those people pay in full, you essentially become your own billing company. There's nothing wrong with that, because you can just pull back the monthly money month after month after month. So it's not necessarily a reason to do that, right? So just to be mindful of that, but you got to know what your traffic stats are. So if I could leave you with anything, right, and for you to remember, start now. So when you move into January, how many intros did we have today? Tally. How many enrollments did we have today? Tally. It doesn't have to be some fancy CRM or sophisticated process. It's a tally sheet of intros and enrollments, and that's it. And over time, you're going to have a good snapshot. The other thing that people do is they're like, oh, well, I've been tracking my intros now, and I've been tracking my enrollments. And for the last month, we signed up 8 out of 9 people. Great. That's a 1 month snapshot. But I want to know over time, what does that look like? Because over the course of 3 months, a quarter, 12 months, or a year or 2 years, the more data we have, the better decisions that we can make in what we do in our business. So I would just start tallying people as they come in.
And here, seasonal sport parents, they see martial arts as they see soccer, football, or football or baseball. If you work with children, I want you to assume that all parents coming into your facility think that way. Assume it, because it's going to force you to educate them that you are very different than a seasonal sport and that you are an educational facility. However, talk is cheap. You can't say that and sell them on it if you're not backing it up and you really are different than just a PE class or soccer, football, or baseball. Therefore, when you could show the value that, I mean, hey, listen, how about the school shooting that just happened? It makes me sick, right? I mean, you just see these kids, right? Now, this kid's a lost kid who just shot up the school in Michigan, right? 4 kids or 5 now are dead from this, right? That's the extreme in the public school system. Now, let's just say for a minute that there's 1,000 students in that school, 1,000 students in the school where there was just a school shooting, right? And that's the extreme side of things. Like, how often is that school going to see a school shooting? Hopefully never, ever again, right? But in that school and in every school across America, you get bullies. There's bullies every day, right? Even if there's not bullies, there's pounding on kids' confidence. There's bad influences. There's negative peer pressure constantly all the time. But even with that school shooting, if there were 1,000 kids or 2,000 kids in that school, what are those parents going to do? They're going to send them back to school, guys. Why are they going to send them back? How much value do you need to see as a parent in education to send your child back into school after there was just a school shooting? You got to see tremendous value in education, right? But out of the 1,000 kids, but you and I know the majority of those parents are going to send their kids right back there. How can you show the value that we are just the opposite of the socialization of the public school system? We're not going to teach your child how to read and write and add and subtract, but you're never going to see negative peer pressure here. We are going to build you up or your child up to have unbelievable belief in yourself and confidence and focus and discipline. The complete opposite of what they're seeing in school every single day. If you could show them how you do that, you can charge whatever you want to charge. Think about that. There was a school shooting, and yet there are students that went back to school today already. Think about that. And if they didn't go today, they'll be back in class next week. That's that. And so you got to learn how to show value. And if you want to raise your rates, make sure you have a reason why you want to raise rates. I already said how much. I say $10. And then see how things are going, right? And see if you're providing that value and the reason behind it. Because you could raise it again. You could raise it in 3 more months if you want, right? But I like the $10 increments, mostly because we have several schools. I'm not the one sitting in the office, and we had a talk about $20 or $10. And my team and my staff said that the majority of my program directors were a little uneasy about a $20 jump. it doesn't matter if I think we should raise it 20, 30, or 40. If they're uneasy and they don't believe that it's okay, that's fine. Let's do 10. And that's why 10 is very easy, because nobody qualmed about $10. Okay. So
there's a good leadership lesson in there too. Like whenever you want to raise your rates and you have to talk to, if you have a team or a group that you have to talk to, your staff, you tell them, guys, we're really thinking about raising our rates by $40 a month, knowing you're only going to raise them by 10. It's the shock and awe feature. So you can, I've done this before in the past actually with my team, and then they're like, oh, only 10, we can do that. Right. So that's a fun little deal, as opposed to, guys, we're going to raise our rates by $10. And now there's all these reasons as to why it won't work. If you say we're going to raise our rates by $40, you're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. Well, would 10 be okay? And then like, well, yeah, we can definitely do 10. Let them get a win on that deal.
Yeah, and I'm reading some of these things, right? Let's just look at this. And John Stewart asked the question, but the mindsets of this community are all over the place as to the value of $100 and or what a good martial art program really is about. The biggest ones here offer after-school daycare. I feel I have to change that if possible. Okay, regardless, right? If you're a martial arts school that runs an after-school program, I look at that as two separate businesses you're running, right? Even though you teach martial arts, but that's an after-school program. This is an evening martial arts program, and it's separate. So irrelevant on what my competitors do, whether they offer after school or not, they're going to get that market that needs care after school, and that's completely fine. But then in the evening, that's what I want to do. I want to go after the people in the evening. And as far as they're all over the place as to the value or what a good martial arts program really is about, let me just assure you that 90%, 99% of the people that are coming into your school have no idea what martial arts is. That is our job, to educate them on who we are, what we do, and why we charge what we charge or whatever it is, and what we're going to be able to accomplish for whatever it is that they are looking for. But you got to fish for that, right? Because they don't know. A lot of parents might come in and say, I don't know, he's been bugging me, he wants to do karate. This movie just came out, and ever since this movie, Cobra Kai, he just been bugging me, wants to do karate. Parent has no idea, right? You got to educate them. Well, he wants to do it because it looks fun, or she wants to do it because it looks fun, period. But let me tell you what you're going to get out of that, okay? Now, this is really important on rate increases. Have several dozen students to upgrade in Q1. Do we raise our Black Belt Club rates ahead of that? Well, you can raise your rates at any time. So listen, I'm not going to go into deep. I'm going to give you a concept here. Let me ask this question, and I asked this I asked this in our foundations call, right? And this isn't teaching you anything, but it's going to get you to understand and wrap your head around it. There's a negative view of upgrades, right? For a lot of people in the industry, there's a negative view. And it's because they do not understand, no matter what, because if you understood, you wouldn't have a negative view. They do not understand how to do it properly or the right way to not make it a negative, but to make it a positive. And here is the way I explain that. If you go to a restaurant and you're just hungry for a steak dinner, and you go there and you look at the menu and you get a steak. Let's say you go into a high-end steakhouse. And I also said McDonald's. I use McDonald's as an example. If I go into Ruth Chris Steakhouse and I say I'd like the 8-ounce filet, and then the server says, would you like to accompany that with any sides? Because everything's a la carte. I do not get insulted over that. I came here because I wanted a steak dinner. And I'm going to get my steak dinner without paying one extra penny. I'm getting my steak. That's why I went to Ruth's Chris. I didn't go to Ruth's Chris because I like their asparagus. I went there because I wanted their steak. But then they're going to say, and what sides would you like with that? And then I'll look at the menu and I will make a choice. And I'll say, you know what? This is a steakhouse, but man, they offer this sweet potato casserole that's unbelievable. Let's get one of those. Has nothing to do with steak, by the way. Nothing to do with it. When I'm done eating my steak, the waiter is going to come over with a dessert tray and say, let me show you the different desserts we have. I am not insulted because I might say, I'm stuffed. No, thank you. Just our check, please. I'm not insulted. If I go to McDonald's right now and I walk in and I say, a cheeseburger, please. They're going to say, is that all? Do you want to make it a meal for an extra $1 or $1.50 where it comes with a drink and fry? I'm not insulted. I was craving a hamburger. But for an extra $1.50, you know what? Yeah, let me get a drink and the fries. That's worth it. That's how your upgrade should be in your school. You should offer a stake, right? Which is whatever your curriculum is. If you're Taekwondo, here's my fees. You're going to get all the curriculum to black belt that you need to get a black belt in Taekwondo. You're going to get everything. You do not have to pay an extra dime. However, for just X dollars more a month, if you want to learn this, and this, has nothing to do with Taekwondo. Just like the mashed potatoes has nothing to do with the steak. For an extra $25 a month, yeah, I would love them to be doing that stuff too. Has nothing to do with my curriculum. You never have to upgrade. You could get a black belt. No one is insulted over that. Now, why is this important to rate raising? Because if I get you in at $100 and I just know that I provide a whole different value for an extra $25, we know statistically, this is not a debate, over 80% of our students in our school see enough value in this upgrade, let's call it, or this add-on, or whatever you want to call it, by choice, where they say, I want to get them in that, and they pay an extra $25 because of the value. So now all my people paying 100 are now 80% of them are paying 125. And then we have a third tier program, people that want to compete or learn how to be an instructor or whatever, which has nothing to do with being a student of martial arts. If you want that highest level of training, it's just $25 more a month if you want that. Well, remember, you came in, you're paying $100. Now you're paying $125. Now a portion of them are going to be paying $150 because they see the value, right? This is an example as if we ever had to lower your rates, but how it doesn't really, it's not going to affect you because it's up to the customer. And if you're doing your job right by providing a value to your customer. The problem with upgrades is people have forced the upgrade, saying, well, you can come in at $100, but once you're an intermediate belt or an advanced belt, you got to upgrade. You got to pay more money if you want to get to black belt. That's why there's a negative connotation. The other thing that people have done in our industry is they said, I want to treat all my students like first class. I want all of them to be first class. All of my students are first class. In the class that they are treated first class. But not every student wants to go compete in tournaments. Not every student wants to be an instructor. That class has nothing to do with treating my people first class. And the third problem is they will water down their curriculum and take things out of their core curriculum and charge people more if they want to learn that part of the curriculum. And that is wrong. You don't do that. Your art and your curriculum is what it is. Come up with a fee for that. People can go all the way to black belt. So when you talk about raising rates, if you understand this concept, you're going to get the rates. You're going to get more money out of customers, not because you're nickel and diming them and not because you're forcing them, because you just happen to have a menu like Ruth's Chris, where they see something on that menu that has nothing to do with the core product. And they're like, you know what? I would like that too. No problem. You can do it. That's another thing that I need everybody to understand. And thank you. Look, if I could just change one life, Tass, it's worth it.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway.
Are you going to do that? Are you going to answer Mr. Stewart's question or just get long-winded about upgrades?
Well, so no, I'm going to get long-winded. Do we raise our Black Belt Club rates ahead of that? So no, now listen to this, everybody. He has several dozen students that want to upgrade in the first quarter. Do we raise our Black Belt Club rates ahead of that? Sure, you can raise your rates, but you're going to give every one of those students an opportunity when in that first quarter or right now to upgrade into the Black Belt Club if that's what they want at the old rate. We're not just going to raise the rate and spring it on them in the first quarter. You're going to give everybody an opportunity if they would like to do it, but come March 1st or April 1st or whatever, rates are going up as of this date. I want to give you an opportunity to get in. I'll never force any of my people. I will never not give them an option to stay at the rate that they're in. I will always give them an opportunity to stay at the rate they're currently on. I hope that answers the question.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Tass.
Well, and by giving people options, by the way, you will find, and I don't mean this to sound the way it may sound, but a lot of us will, whether it's putting in a new piece of equipment, putting in a new program, or say, well, this is what we're doing and this is what the rates are going to go to. They don't feel like they have a choice, right? So there's going to be natural resistance that they have because they don't have a choice in it. They don't have a say in it. But when you do what Metzger's telling you to do, right, which is, hey, look, yes, the rate's going to go up, and you have an opportunity. If you want to get in now at this rate, you can. Or if you want to wait, then just know the rate's going to be X later on. Which one would you like to do? They're going to make the decision, and they're going to get involved, right? Mr. Ciaz.
No, Mr. Ciaz has to leave.
Good. So yeah,
seeing you.
I think this is one of the biggest takeaways for me, right? Is this is all about this particular, whatever, Be Live or whatever this is all about. Is it time to raise our rates, and how do we do that, right? Number one. Number two is the most life-changing thing that I think all of you can understand in your schools, and I don't think I'm saying this out of turn, because for me, the most life-changing thing that you can do is offer options. And anytime that you're going to do something in your school, you need to give people an option. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do that, by the way. But when you understand the presentation and how to do that and how to deliver options, you're going to get the majority of the herd, the tribe, whatever you want to call it, to make the decision you want them to make anyways, because you gave options as opposed to just springing on. I'll never forget, it was years ago, I decided I was going to do this is 20 years ago. We decided we were going to do nunchucks in our Bible club. And it was literally like the week before. And I told all the kids, hey kids, make sure you tell your parents we're going to start nunchucks next week. So you guys got to buy your nunchucks. And that's what I told them. And the nunchucks were like, they're the foam chucks from Century. I don't know what $10 or whatever they are retail, right? I'm thinking, well, this is going to be a no-brainer. I had a mom that came in that was irate because I told her son that he needed to tell her to go buy these nunchucks. And that was never part of the agreement. I'm like, ma'am, they're $9.95. But because I didn't understand presentation. And when you understand presentation, you're going to get them to do what you want them to do anyways. And by the way, they're going to be excited about it as opposed to feeling like they're being pushed to do it. And this is why it's so important. So, looking at these things, looking at raising prices, raising value, if you're opposed to upgrade programs or don't understand, like you said earlier, no problem. Then just do what you're doing. But here's what I would tell you, the value that you do need to have in your school to separate yourself from everybody else is, if he says, well, Mr. Metzger says, well, look, you should be charging at least $100 a month. I don't necessarily know that I agree with that if all you're doing is teaching kicking and punching or whatever your art is, because part of what we teach has to be to deliver life skills. And so when you're thinking about your program, I know when I trained as a kid, life skills were implied in what we did, the discipline, the this, the that, in our oath, our creed. It was implied, it was there, but it was never at the forefront. And one of the things that we've done is we said, okay, we don't want to learn martial arts and have the life skills be just a byproduct of learning martial arts. I want to make sure we pull those life skills to the top, and that's what we're teaching. And there happens to be this vehicle that we use to get there, which is martial arts. And when you can do that, when you can translate for kids, as an example, this is how this applies in the martial arts school. This is how it applies at home when you're talking to mom and dad or at the elementary school, and do the same with adults. When you can give life skills and attach those life skills to everything that you're doing in class, and here's the reason why we're doing this drill or doing this skill, you'll be blown away as to how much the parents appreciate that. And now all of a sudden they go from doing this on their phones during classes to like tune into what you're saying, because like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is what I need. If I'm teaching someone how to punch on the square hand target, I think a lot of you know this, but it may just be a good reminder. Well, why are we punching the square hand target? Well, I might talk about focus. Like, guys, the reason we're punching the square hand target is you have to focus. And if you're not focused, you're not going to be able to punch the center. So I need everyone's eyes to focus on the square hand target and make sure you guys are punching the center. Just like, by the way, when you guys are at home. And now I might turn to the parents and say, when your parents are speaking to you, should you be looking at your iPad? Should you be looking, at your game? Or should you be looking at mom and dad in the eyes? Well, I got to look at mom and dad in the eyes. That's exactly right. Parents, are they doing this at home? All right, parents, I want you to make sure when you ask them a question from now on, they're looking at you in the eyes. So guys, let's hit these square hand targets. Let's make sure we're using that good focus. The parents, now when a kid wants to quit, the parents are like, no, they're not quitting because this has been unbelievable, because it's reinforcing the life skills that the parents want for their kids. And now it's more than an activity. It's actually, we talk about it being a way of life, and there's life skills behind it. So if you're not currently doing that, or if you are currently doing it, I would suggest really be intentional and mindful about how am I taking the things that I'm teaching and tying that into a life skill, not just in your intro lesson to razzle and dazzle them, but every single class that you do, and constantly be delivering those skills. When I teach on the floor, right, I'm teaching the students and I'm teaching the parents at the same time. I'm engaging everybody in that class as opposed to just the student that's in front of me. And this by itself is going to give your program way, way, way more value. So I think it goes without saying, but sometimes we just need to be reminded of that, because we get caught up in teaching the new move or the new skill, and we're not about the.
And by the way, this audience may know everything he just said, right? And you may get it, but it's about when you train your assistant. Do you train them on that, or you train them on this? Now, Mr. Manilli said, do you increase rates on existing students when they renew, or do they stay at the rate indefinitely? We increase their rates when they renew, but we go to them first and say to them, for example, this isn't reality, but for example, hey, Mr. Manilli, if you're a student of mine, I'm going to say, Mr. Manilli, how are you? Hey, I know your program's coming up in about 6 months, because we do 12-month terms. We do 12-month and 36-month terms. It's what we do, right? I'll say, however, January 1st, and I'll hold up by the way, join us in Orlando at the Elite event at the Hyatt. I'll say, I don't know if you're aware, but our rates are going up in January. And of course, you're locked in all the way until April, when your program's up. But I want to give all of my existing members an opportunity to stay locked in. And if you want to extend your program, if you want to extend it, you can do so for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever you want to do. Do you want to extend it so you're locked in at the current rate? You do not have to if you do not want to, but rates are going up $10. So then when you renew come April, it'll be a $10 bump, but you can choose which option you'd like to go with. So I give them the opportunity always to stay grandfathered in, and it's up to them. I mean, that's just it. Okay. Now, drill goes from being mundane to enthusiastic. Yes. Even adults benefit from reminders. Yes. Sorry, I had to go. Anyway, guys, so look, if you want to raise rates, have a reason, but not because of your competitor, not because of inflation, not because you can't pay your rent. If you can't pay your rent and you're not making enough money in your business, it's not because your rates. It's because you need some help and some pointers on how to run your business, right? And I said this the other day, I wish you guys would give us an opportunity to show you how we can change your life. I mean, Tass, you just got a letter from somebody that was a traditionalist. They were very traditional. They signed up for consulting, and they sent you a letter this week on how you changed their life. And they took time to write a 3-page letter or whatever it is, just thanking you, because they were very set in their ways, and they felt there was nickel and dime until they understood everything. And it was a very heartfelt letter. But, I said this yesterday, we're here because we want to help this industry, not because we need to get you to pay for consulting. I mean, that's Maya. That's, Century's the parent company. They bring us on to try to help schools become more successful. And by the way, if we can make you more successful, you're going to win on that. And they're going to win on that because you're going to buy more product, right? So I wish you'd give us an opportunity. I know a lot of you work with other consultants, and I know a lot of you work with us, but do your homework and check everybody out. And just make sure you understand what you're being told from me, from him, from another consultant group. Make sure you understand all of the whys, and why is it that we feel we're the best? Why is it that other groups feel they're the best? And why do you feel that the person you're with, whether it's us or them, are the best? Well, because you got results. The problem is you don't know if you've maximized those results. If you were a school owner making $10,000 a month and you joined us or joined anyone else, and now you're making $20,000 a month, you're going to say, oh, these guys are the best. This is the people to go to. This is the people. But maybe if you go with someone else, you'll be making 40. Or maybe if you come over to us, what you're learning, the reasons behind it, the systems in it. And I just know that we can help anybody. I just know we can. And I wish we'd have the opportunity, to do that. We have a Next Level Summit happening tomorrow, Friday, Saturday in Orlando. I think that's closed. But my point is, those people coming are going to see one of my schools and they're going to see a live holiday event. Because there was somebody on here, and out of respect, I won't mention who it is on here, but there was a person on here that I've been working with for maybe almost 15 years now. Yeah, well, I know it's almost 15 years because I know when my daughter was born. They're going to do their holiday event this Saturday. Their goal is to do $220,000 on Saturday, not in contract amount, in cash deposited in the bank. $220,000 on Saturday is their goal. Now you're going to say, well, how many students do they have? I think they're about 350. So cut that in half. Cut it in half. So not 350. Let's say you have 175. You might do 110,000. Cut that in half. You only have 80 students. You may only do 70,000, 60,000. But anyway, that's just one event, and this happens to be the biggest event of the year. And no, we don't ruin your billing. Your billing check doesn't go down. All the things you're thinking of, just know we know what you're thinking, and you'd be wrong, right? Unless you call us and ask us, okay, how do you do it? I got so tired of people not believing it, I started doing a seminar on the day we do the sale, which is Saturday, December 4th. And I've invited you. I think it's $199 for two people. Like, I wanted to keep the price point low. Why do we even charge? Because we have reservations at Bahama Breeze. We're taking everyone to dinner. We're going to treat dinner. We're going to have coffee. We're going to have snacks. There's expense to the seminar. But people can fly in, get 2 days of seminar. But on Saturday morning, I'm going to have them go downstairs and walk through our holiday event and see it for themselves. Because I got so tired of people saying, you're lying, or they're fudging their numbers. So we started doing a little business seminar every year on the day we do a holiday event. So my point is I know we can help you guys if you're interested. You know how to find us. Like, you know how to call Maya, find us on Facebook, private message us, just ask us questions, and we'll tell you if we can help you. But if we tell you we can help you, we're going to tell you how and why. Just like when the one gentleman called me and I said, sir, listen, if you want to come on board with us, the first thing we're going to do is lower your rates for all your customers. I said, so if that doesn't scare you away, I don't know what does, but we're going to lower the rates on all of your people. Well, he signed up. He's crazy.
He's crazy. Yeah. And the thing is, it's not theory and hyperbole. It's just, it's been because we've dealt with so many clients and we know what works and what doesn't, because we've dealt with so many clients, not because it's because we know this stuff inside and out. It's just, we've had exposed, we're the conduit, right? We're the in-between person, like they're taking these ideas and sending it forward. Mr. Weaver had a question on here, or he said, have you ever raised rates because a mom or dad has been unbearable and you simply wanted them to go elsewhere, asking for a friend? The answer is, in my old school, yes, I did that. But today I would never do that because it's not having good integrity. It's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is just call it out. Say, Ms. Smith, hey, I just want to chat with you. How you guys doing? Are you guys happy? It doesn't seem like you're happy. And look, our goal is for you guys to be happy. And what would make you happy? And if I can't figure that out, well, I think it'd be the best if we just go ahead and part ways and you guys go look for something else. And it's a place that will make you happy. And that's really what our goal is for you. Like, that's how I would handle that situation.
Hey, before we leave, I'd love to do this because this would help tremendously. Everybody, before you sign off, and we're going to sign off right now, what topic would you like to hear about on the Metzger Tassoul Show? Put in the comments right now, if you can, on a specific topic, because I get yelled at every week. They say, we need a topic for the Metzger Tassoul Show, need a topic. And I just kind of browse through, the Facebook pages to see what's causing a stir or what's out there. But what topic would you like to hear us talk about? I think we have 2 or 3 more shows left before we're breaking for the rest of the year.
And just be careful what you post, because you may offend us. We're very, very, have very, very soft souls. And
yeah, you wouldn't think that, but we're very sensitive.
Yeah, very, very sensitive. How to get more viewers on the Metzger Tassoul Show. Dealing with cancellations.
Dealing with folks who want to cancel. Okay, that's great. I'm just in sponge mode and loving the input.
What maybe a better question is, well, maybe not, right? Because then you're showing your cards a little bit. But what's the number one thing that you struggle with in your school that you want answers to, right?
Oh, this is good. One person owners with no staff. How do you go about implementing your ideas, in what order? I got to take some pictures of this.
Make sure. I was going to say, Shelby, make sure that you're taking notes.
I just want to make sure we're getting some of these. Okay. Single person owners. Okay. Building staff. Starting a staff, foundations to build on. And by the way, we absolutely have worked with tons. I mean, I can't even tell you how many single one-man show. Tass, you were basically almost a one-man show when you first came on with me, right?
I had a 16 or 17-year-old. Well, we wouldn't talk about that, but that I actually sometimes left the 17-year-old in charge of classes. But yes, I was by myself.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's been so many that started as a single owner. By the way, what's the national average for tuition? I'll be honest, I don't know that, but if we were to ask the national average, it's going to be very low, very low. Because even if you're in a rec center, right, with the data that we have, you're a martial arts school, you have a business entity, you have and we know this from the billing companies, like all the billing companies, right? Not all of them, but a big test market, and tuition is low, right? But I couldn't tell you who's in where, what facility, as far as whatever. It's just, well, this martial arts school's charging this, but it's low. And that shouldn't have anything to do with what you want to charge. Or.
And Mr. Weaver, just because they have the highest rate doesn't necessarily, and I'm not saying you're suggesting this, but right. I'm assuming the question is, well, like, what's the price elasticity and who's got the highest rate? And if they can do it, why can't I do it? But just remember, the person that charges the most doesn't necessarily make the most amount of money, which is what we talked about earlier in the show. When I was charging $169 a month versus dropping my rates to $139, I actually made more money charging less. It's about understanding the profit centers and how we, do things, and how we nickel and dime all of our people.
That's a great topic. Mr. Baines, I hope I'm saying that right. Our tuition is, listen, first of all, I'm going to answer this quickly. We don't have a membership. We have a program. Tass, how much is the basic program?
Well, I don't know. Now that you raised the rate, I have no idea.
Well, here's how much our basic program is, but I'll answer it.
1987 plus 120 is 2,000.
159 plus 12.
2107, maybe.
2107. That's exactly right.
Hey, how about that, dude? That's good math.
So, yep, there it is. Just so you know, we're not fooling around here. So our basic program costs 2107. And we give people 4 different ways they can pay for it, because not everybody can budget $159 a month. So what that is $199 down, 12 payments of $159. When they say, well, what's the down payment for? Well, if you add it up, that's the cost of the program, $2107. But if they want to put $299 down, well, their monthly rate is lower because there's a little bit of a discount. If they want to put $399 down, their monthly rate's lower. If you just want to pay it up front, there's a bigger discount if you want to do that. There's a right way and a wrong way to do that as far as your discounts. That's not the show today. And nobody can tell you what to do. And it's a great exercise. If I say who offers a discount, what is it? You're going to say 10%. Some of you will say 20. Some of you say, well, 25, 15. And then I ask, well, why is it that? And none of you will have the right answer. There's only one answer. There's only one right answer on why you should discount a paid in full option. There's only one answer. But if you break it down, it's $199 down, 12 payments of $159. However, our average student value for the year, well, I don't even have it here. I was going to show you.
But as of it's gone up, I'm sure, as of this last month, because a month ago was 217.
What? Oh yeah, no. Student value. I don't know if they would all understand that, but what they will understand is whatever your billing is, right? Your billing check, your tuition from the rates that you charge, whatever that rate is, you get monthly fees that people pay you. Whatever you bring in a month should not exceed 50% of your gross revenue. Your tuition, whether you do after school or whatever your tuition payments are, should never exceed 50% of your gross revenue. So if you're billing $10,000 a month every month, you should be grossing at least $20,000 every month. If your billing check is $20,000, you should be grossing at least $40,000. It should never be more than 50%. And if you don't understand how or why, that's where we would explain to you why and how and how to maximize that without the nickel and diming going on. Anyway, but that's the long answer, I guess.
And then the question was for a year. Yeah, the 2107 was the program for a 12-month program for that. If that's the question, where it says for a year.
Right. All right. Well, guys,
everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate your input on topics. And if you ever have any ideas for topics, I mean, you don't just need to post them on here. Jump on one of our pages and post in there. Let us know what you'd like to see for a topic, because, you know, we want to give you also what it is that you want and feel like you guys need in your schools. And, you know, we do 50 of these shows, 48 of these shows a year, whatever it is. And sometimes topics are a little bit, you know, tricky. And so we come up with things that we think you're going to enjoy. But at the same time, if there may be something you really want, let us know that, and we can make sure we deliver that for you guys.
Hey, we have an Academy Intensive. It's a Friday, like all-day training coming up, and I know Chris would kill me, but it's coming up on December 17th. Yeah. That's Friday, December 17th. It's going to be me, Tassoul, and Chris Rodriguez on social media and marketing, getting ready for the new year. Be looking out for the Academy Intensive. Would love to have all of you guys on there. We're not going to be on together. I'm going to take a section. Chris is taking a section. Shane is taking a section. So you're going to get this whole agenda. We have the topics set. So be on the lookout for the Academy Intensive. We'd love to have you guys on there to get your mindset, and before you take a break for the holidays, to be ready for 2022. So, and
with that, actionable steps that you can put into your school, not just an overview and concept, but actionable steps you can take and literally implement in your school starting immediately and kick off the 2022 year, you know, with a bang.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We take up a lot of your time. We appreciate it. Hopefully it helps. Tass, we'll touch base soon.
All right.
A couple calls real quick and jump into a meeting.
Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.